Hi all, welcome to the channel, welcome to the workshop. It's Monday, so happy Monday everyone. That does mean we have the next stage of the Mallard. Now I have only got the one stage for you, and half of the work I've already done. Mainly because it is just simply mirroring what we've done last week. Even the instructions say, I'm not going to give you instructions, I'm going to show you what you did last week. So I'll show you that when we get over to the workbench, but I think the rest of the magazine is pretty much all running gear. So we've got quite a bit to do. So let's get into it. Let's get building.
Welcome to the workshop, tools in the light, screws and glue, they're holding it tight. Piece by piece, it's a builder's delight, making dreams in the still of the night. Let's get into it, let's get building now. Put it all together, I'll show you how. Screw by screw and a little glue too. Welcome to the workshop, it's waiting for you.
Right, so we've got issue 119 of the Mallard. Workbench is a complete mess. It's starting to rival Ian over at Pitstame Hobbies, I think. But anyway, so it's issue 119, as I said, and as you can see, this product looks very familiar from last week. Pretty much exact mirror image of what we had last week. We do need quite a few parts, as you can see here, from previous issues. So I've done all this, I've drilled all this out, and as you can see, they basically said, go look at last week's magazine, and then you end up with this lot. So that is exactly what I've done, and you can see they're just sat there gluing. And then we've got to do a little bit more work, as you can see, with those parts and sub-assemblies, and we will be attaching some parts to the chassis. And as you can see, we've got a bit of complicated linkages, etc. Try and get this all working correctly, and we need a little bit of bar as well. And on this, we've got classic locomotives and Great Railway Journeys. Right, first thing we're going to need, we need some of the parts from the last issue. So we're going to be interested in that one first. Now I'm going to try and keep 118 and 119 separate as parts, just because they look very similar, but I think they're left and right, so with any luck, we won't get anything mixed up. But we're going to start off with these. We've got L1 and L2 is what they're marked. So L1, L2, L1, L2, and they're just going to go on the sides of these. So just going to take one of each. Right, now there is only one combination that actually fits. Now we have to have this on the outside, and obviously the shape matters, and you'll notice there's only a single peg on this end. So we've got two holes at end, and they're going to go over the hole, over the pegs there, and then that single peg goes in there, and then its opposite number has a peg on the opposite side, and obviously that's going to face the same way. And if I can get that to go over the top of those two pins at the bottom, and then that single pin will go in at the top there, and then we'll have something that looks like that. Now if you get those in any other combination, it's either not going to match that way, or the pins will foul against each other. So I'm just going to glue that together, going to do the exact same thing for the other side. So same process for this side. Again, only going to match up one way round. Next we need these items. So get both of those cut off there. Right, now we need to retrieve the larger of the screws we had last time, and we've also got one this time as well. So we need both of the larger screws. We're then going to take this piece and take our screw. So it's going to go through there from the detail side. And then if you remember last week, we tapped this one. And hopefully that on the screw in there. Like so. Now we don't want it too tight, although it does say about tightening it up firmly and then take off the back of the screw, but there's so little actually showing there, I don't think it's required. Maybe if you're doing it as a running model, maybe it will be, but for now, I'm not going to worry about doing that. I'm going to do the exact same thing with this one. So again, screw through there from the detail side, like so, and then just screw that into that piece. So we now have those two parts looking just like so. Now I know that one's twisted. I'm sure I can tweak that. I think it's actually this center piece that's actually bent. You might be able to see that on the top camera. I'm hoping I should be able to just bend that out. In fact, I'll try and do it now. Just try and straighten that a little bit. Not too bad. Right, this is where we now need our chassis. And obviously we're at this point at the moment with the rod linkages, etc. Looking just like that. Ignore that. That's just because I haven't put that bolt in, and I just put that in loosely for now. We have a bit of wire. And to be fair, if this is not going to be a running model, that bit of wire might end up becoming permanent because then you don't have the bolt head. First thing we need is a 1.6mm drill bit. And we need to basically go through these two holes here. And we need to do this on both sides. And hopefully without actually bending the part. Not sure why we wouldn't have been asked to do this when it was on the fret. But I think what I'm going to do is just grab a pair of pliers and just hold and support that whilst I drill this hole. Right, so that's that one done. I'm going to do the exact same thing for this side. Right, so that's those holes drilled out. That's a 1.6 as I said. So we've just been asked to check that on that centre crank pin there, and that seems fine. I'll check both because I'm not sure which is which at the minute, left and right. Again, seems fine. Now I'll just check the other side. And that's fine. And that's fine. Now what we've been asked to do with these nuts is basically try and file them down to about half. That will just aid the clearance, basically. And so, don't know if you can see the difference there, but so we've taken the nut down probably about a third at the minute. Could probably go a little bit further, but I think for now that'll be fine. Can do the exact same thing for this side. Right, so the next step, basically asking us to remove the inner part of this section here, and it's basically so we can fit this piece. Now, cast your minds back. I don't know if I videoed it completely or not, but putting that piece in there and putting those two nuts on the ends of these screws, absolute nightmare. So I'm actually going to try and cheat. This is actually quite a flexible part, so I'm going to try and just get this and put it up inside there by just opening up this part slightly. But basically we just need these two pins to sit into those two holes that we drilled. And that's basically how it will sit in there. So I'm going to do the exact same thing for the other side. So again, just going to bend this open slightly. And obviously, constantly bending metal, it can easily snap. So do use caution if you're going to do the same as me. Right, let me just put this one in there. And then we'll just fold that back down. And that will capture that piece. With any luck. Like so. So then we'll put this rod back on there. And this will sit on front of there. Like so. So you have the sides looking just like that now. That doesn't want to sit quite in there at the moment, but that's not the end of the world. Right, now we have a couple of pieces from issue 95 and 96. Just going to take those out of there. Now, this side keeps falling off for the moment, but not going to be the end of the world. Same with the other side, it's going to keep falling off. But this is basically going to sit just there. I've got a pair of tweezers to do this. It's basically going to sit just there, like so. Now it will line up with the hole you can see in the chassis there. So all I'm going to do is dip this in some glue and get that in place. So we've got that one in there. Going to do the exact same thing for the other side. So that one's going in just like that. Right, now we're going to take a bit of 2mm rod and we're going to put it on or in the hole that I made earlier of that one. Now you can see that's a bit of a tight fit, so I'm just going to use the hammer. Just make sure that's all tucked in nicely. Now, obviously, we can glue this, but we are told we don't want to glue the other side because obviously this will get taken apart again for painting. But obviously, I technically could because most of mine's painting anyway. Right, apologies, I forgot to hit record. I basically cut that bar now down to 56 millimeters, and I've just put the other one on the end. Again, that's only a dry fit. It's not glued in or anything. But it's just a tight fit on the ends there. Obviously, the magazine does say don't glue it at all because it will need to be taken apart for painting, etc. I potentially won't need to do that because I could probably just fill it in the little bits of paint that need to be done like this. And as you can see, I've painted the chassis already. Next, we're going to move on to these small parts. And we have the very tiny screws still. We've got a screw and a bolt and a nut from the previous issue. But we've also got 3 new ones as well for the new one. And basically, we're just going to take this part and this little X type part that we created, and they're just going to go together like this. Now, they might need a little bit of tweaking just to get them to sit together nicely. So that looks like it's going to go in there nicely now. Right, so we got that one through like so. We just need to put a nut on the end of that one. I'm going to do the exact same thing for this one. Again, just making sure that the details are facing the same direction. Right, and with that one through, just going to grab the nut and get it on the end there. So we now have those two looking just like that. Right, we need to take some 1mm wire, and we basically need to bend 6mm over and then measure 31mm. So it has something that looks like that. So we've got 31mm here and 6mm there. Now it might be slightly longer, but we can always file it down. Now we need to do another one of those. So we now have two of those. And what we're going to do with this is basically feed it through the hole we have here. Right, so I've now glued this one in place. I've just put this one in place. The way I've had to do it is actually basically pass it through this loop. And I've also had to open up the holes a little bit just to accept this 1mm wire. But basically we just need that to sit through those two holes. Like that. And we need that little bracket that we bent needs to be pointing out towards the side of the engine. I'm just going to tack a bit of glue in there. Try and make sure that's reasonably level, like so. And tack a little bit more glue just on the inside here. And then taking this part, we basically need to put them on the correct side. So this one is going to go on this side of the engine, and that's going to go over the, or go through the top loop of that one. I might need to make that hole a little bit bigger actually. It's definitely 1mm bar that I've used. Basically that's going to sit on there, and then that's going to sit round there, and we need to secure that with the screws again. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to use a drill bit just to open up this hole, and that will ensure it goes over there smoothly, like so. That's going to go, as I say, on there like so, and we're going to secure that together with one of the very small screws and nuts. So with that screw now in there, we just need to try and get the nut to go in. Right, so that's that side done. I'm going to do the exact same thing for this side. Again, I'm just going to drill out these holes just to open them up so they fit nicer. Now we were told to do this at a 1mm hole, but obviously that depends on the wire and how good that is at being 1mm, because I found that there is variation. So I think this is actually a 1.1mm drill bit that I'm using at the minute. So they've done it on many other parts where we've had to put a certain size wire through it, and they've always given us the 0.1 equivalent drill bit. So I don't know why they didn't do it for this one. Now I don't know what's going in that other one, but I've just drilled it anyway at the same size just to make it a little bit easier. So again, that's going to sit over the top of that wire, like so. And then, oops, make sure we get it the right way around, so detail bits facing outwards. And then that piece, again, is just going to go around that piece and have one of these screws go through there. Right, so that's gone through there. Just going to make sure that screw doesn't fall out when we tip the engine on its top, like that. And again, just holding the nut in a pair of pliers. Hopefully we can just get that to screw in like so. And that is all there is to do in that stage. So we now have a lot more running gear than we had before. Still don't quite know how this side is going to stay on at the minute. It might be that we end up gluing that, but I'm not sure how that works, or whether that should actually be a motion, whether that should move or not. It looks like it clamps, and the instructions look like it clamped on, but I'm not 100% sure on that at the moment. So it could be that this gets set at a certain angle. It does say about setting the crank angle, but I don't know quite what that is, and maybe that being at the same angle all the time is correct, but we shall see as we progress with this one. But as I say, that is all there is to do in that stage. Thank you very much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please remember to hit the like button below and give us a massive thumbs up. So that was an absolute marathon trying to get all that running gear to work together, but it does look good. I'm not sure what's actually coming in the next issue, but now we're down to the final 10 issues. Can you believe it? So not very long left until we have one final finished Mallard. I don't know how long that's going to be. It depends on obviously how many issues I can put together, or whether they're like this one where it's incredibly fiddly and it's going to take a few hours to do. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Just a reminder, there is no live stream tomorrow night. I am off in London from Tuesday, so no live stream. And I'm hoping I'll get at least one video out during the week. I've got 3 or 4 things here to do now. They sort of all came at the same time, so hopefully I'll try and get a couple of those done and queue them up for the week ahead. So if you want to see those or anything else that goes on in the workshop, please do remember to hit the subscribe button and ding the bell for notifications. That way you won't miss out on future videos. And hopefully I'll see you on the next one. Cheers!